They say your early life romance came.
Alright guys, gonna do the Kia Stinger 3.3 dual catch cans today. So we're gonna get started. We got the catch cans, we got all the tools you need. What you're gonna need, you're gonna need a 3/8 ratchet or, sorry, a 1/4 inch ratchet or a 1/4 inch nut electric driver. I got the flashlight out here just in case it's gonna be late. 10mm ratcheting or non-ratcheting wrench, pair of pliers, pair of side cutters for cutting some zip ties, and I've got a 10mm for the nut driver, and I've got a nut driver with a 7mm. You can use a 7mm on the end of a quarter inch ratchet to get this done. All right, so let's get over here. All right, we got the catch cans. We're gonna pull the cover off. Now, like with all of our installs in the past, we go through, we kind of loosen everything so we can speed the process up. So this is your breather side. Now we've got a set of intakes on here, and if you have the factory air box, you're gonna have to move the breather around. So we did something really cool, and I'm gonna be able to show you guys. So what you're gonna wanna do, you wanna take your pliers, you're gonna loosen this bracket, you're gonna come down here, and you're gonna get that clamp off. You can get both these clamps off. You're gonna come up here by the breather on the valve cover, and you're gonna take that clamp off. Just get in there, give them a squeeze, slide them down the clamp. Pretty easy. Now there's a bracket on here. It has two 10mm in it. You're gonna pull these two 10mm out. And once you get the two 10mm out, you're gonna wanna separate this hose from the hard hose. Okay, so just take this, give it a couple twists, off it comes. Down here, we already took the clamp off. Just gonna be able to give that a little pull. Now this stuck pretty good from the factory, so you may have to twist it a little bit to try to get it off. We've already separated this, so it's just gonna slide right off for us. Make sure you're really, really careful when you're doing that. The hoses on here are plastic. So do not get in here and just start prying on it with a pry bar or anything. You gotta be real careful. The valve cover is plastic. You don't want to break that plastic piece off the valve cover. All right, so if you opted for the breather, you're going to get a cap and a breather. The cap is for the hose that goes down to the factory intake or an aftermarket intake. You're gonna want to pull that off. You're gonna want to put the cap onto the intake, just like so. Right there is where you put the cap. Take this hose, set it off to the side. What we're gonna do is we are going to take this off, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do the hook up with the hose. So we're gonna put the hose back on. Now, we include two 6x1.0mm studs and two nuts. These screw into the face of the cylinder head where we pulled out the two nuts that went, the two bolts that went to this hose. That hose bolted up to the front of the block. These studs now go in that location. But here's something cool that we've changed in the design. This is ugly. This is on my car, nowhere to get anything ugly like this. We've got a notched OCC mounting point now. For factory intakes, well, let's mention this really quick. Stud. Short side, no. Long side, into the block, yes. So, we've found out that there's a couple differences in the oil catch cans, in the intakes from K&N, from ours, factory intakes. We've got a couple different changes. So what we had to do is we had to make this set up so you could put this on here and slide this left and right, back and forth, okay? Slide your hose in, hook it up. You can use the forward stud, you can use the rear stud, or you can use both. If you have a factory air box, you can bring this as far over as you want and tilt it up a tiny bit, and that'll give you all the clearance that you need. It'll clear the front pulley over here. There's a finger's worth of room underneath the front pulley. This hose will hook up. Everything hooks up perfect. Put the nut on, tighten it down. That would be that setup. Or if you have a K&N intake, we found that about middle is just about perfect for the K&Ns. The other intake that's on the market, I'm drawing a blank on it. I'm sorry, guys. That one can come almost all the way across and connect. With our intakes, you can use both of the studs. Put it on. This is tricky. So, you got to get the nut in between the catch can and on the stud. Got to kind of get in here with both your hands. Use both fingers. Try to spin that on there. The other nut in there. Okay, so you got some clearance here. We can slide it to where it touches. We can slide it away. We can go a couple different places. Again, you can mount it however you want. This even has some left and right room. Take your 10mm, ratchet in if you have it. Makes it easy. Now, this is the breather side that we've got hooked up. Take your hose that we had over here, slide it on, take your pliers. There you go. Really easy to do. Now we're gonna move over to the PCV side. PCV side is a tiny bit more complicated, but still just as quick and easy to do. Okay, so on top of the valve, on top of the intake manifold, there's a little pin that holds the top engine cover on. We've loosened this. Do not use an impact on this. Use this on the end of a ratchet, or use your ratcheting 10mm to get this off. There we go. You got a clamps. You got a clamp down below and clamp up top. What I do is I like to get this O2 sensor out of the way. So just grab, pull straight up, and it pops right out of the way. Little U-bracket here that it slides down into. So we're gonna get up here. We're gonna take our pliers. We're gonna take it off of this one. And then down below on the PCV, you wanna get your pliers down in here and get it off of that one too. Okay, something to note. Down here, when I originally had to pull this off, the pinch point for the clamp was underneath the PCV valve. It was horrible to get to. So you may have to get in there with a screwdriver or something and kind of nudge it around so you can get a pair of pliers on it. All right, another note on the plastic, okay? When you're pulling this stuff off, putting it on, this is plastic right here, okay? Do not pry on this. Do not yank on it. Do not crush it with a pair of pliers. You will break it. We want to make sure that we're safe on that. Okay, PCV side. Now the PCV side has a check valve in it. Air goes up into the intake manifold, fills the box with vacuum, pulls the vacuum from the PCV. So this side is a little bit more unique in that this slides over the nipple on the PCV. So literally, the PCV valve is here. You're gonna slide that over, and then you're gonna take the hose and you're gonna put the hose over it and then tighten down the clamp. And this goes to the pin that was on top. This just screws right down inside like that. So let's show you how this goes on. All right, so here we go. Got to kind of snake this in a little bit. This kind of wraps. I'm just gonna leave that up there. I'll wrap that around a little bit later. So we got to kind of snake this down. get it around this O2 sensor bracket. Don't get the bracket stuck on top of the PCV valve. So what I'm gonna do is just where this rubber bushing is, we're gonna go directly over the PCV. See if you can see that. So literally, that slides over the PCV. Okay, once you got that slid over, so now we kind of rotate it. It just fell off. So you rotate it around, take this hose, don't bolt this down yet. You take this hose, hook it up to your intake manifold. You just kind of slide it forward. Now that hole lines up when you're there. Put this in. Remember, don't use your impact. Okay. Get that tightened down just a minute. So now, you got the nipple back here on the back where your PCV valve is. You're going to want to route this hose down and around the engine mount pickup point. It's this big ring right here. Go down under the wires. There's 2 or 3 wires. Loop it underneath. Slip it onto your PCV valve. Go ahead and walk on over here so you can see. Can you see the PCV valve? Right here where my finger is?
Yeah, I can see the hose.
Awesome. Okay, then we're going to take our nut driver and we're going to tighten up that clamp. All right. All right, so make sure you don't forget to put the O2 sensor back on the little H bracket. Get that slid back on, get that back on. Make sure the hose is on good and tight. All the hoses are on good. Now we got to tighten up this top bracket. Ooh, be careful. Again, everything's plastic up here, so make sure you don't hit anything, bump it too hard. Okay, you can use a factory clamp. It came with a hose. You can put it on right there. I choose to use zip ties. We send zip ties with the kit. Put 2 zip ties on there, get them cinched down. And that is the ease and simpleness of installing catch cans on a Kia Stinger. Now I do want to touch on one other thing. What do catch cans do? What is a PCV system? Really quick, watch this. I'm going to explain it in less than 3 minutes. Come on down here. Okay, this is your suction side. When this is under a vacuum, intake manifold sucks vacuum, pulls vacuum in, that goes into the valve cover on the passenger side, generates a vacuum. That comes across over here to the driver's side, sucks out of this hose. So it creates a suction, vacuum, sucks through the engine, makes a vacuum, pulls from this tube fresh air from the intake. PCV system runs through the whole engine, generates a negative pressure inside of the engine. Negative pressure has all sorts of benefits for ring seal and emissions and compliance and stuff like that. This catches all of the oil when the PCV system isn't working. Over here, when this is pulling a vacuum, it's pulling through, no oil comes through this hose, but down here on this valve cover, it pulls oil up into this catch can. That's what it's catching. Now, when you go full throttle or go into boost, we have a check valve right here. Intake manifold sees boost, pushes boost pressure down into the catch can, can't go into the catch can, it catches it at the check valve. When it catches it at the check valve, no boost goes into here, but the crankcase still builds pressure. So you got pressure underneath each one of your valve covers. What that pressure does is blows hot oily air out of this hose then pushes the hot oily air down into the intake. Well, we got a catch can to catch that hot oily air now. Now it's gonna catch the oil, but it's not gonna catch the hot air. So you're still gonna have a hot air getting blown into your intake. That is why you get a cap and a filter. If you don't want to have that hot air blown into the one side of your engine, get the cap and filter, and then it just kind of blow hot air out through the breather filter. In less than 3 minutes, you now have an idea how your PCV and catch cans work. Thanks, guys.